Hello, Scout World. Welcome to the second from the series of webinars on fundraising. Greetings from Prague, the Czech Republic. My name is Pavel Trentina, and it's my privilege to moderate today's event. A couple of technical comments. We will have the interpretation to 3 languages. This is the main channel, English, but you can also listen in French, in Spanish, and in Arabic. And you can change the interpretation at the very bottom of the page. We'll also like to remind you that the webinar is recorded and it will be put for the use of the National Scout organizations across the world later. And I would like to encourage you to use the chat or questions and answers point for your questions throughout the seminar. You'll be encouraged to do so at the specific parts of the event. Now, why are we holding this seminar today? You will probably note that as a response to the global pandemics of COVID, the growing Stronger Together plan was put in place by the World Organization of the Scout Movement, which is offering tailored support and resources to National Scout organizations in these very challenging times. And this project focuses on supporting NSOs in the new financial reality. Therefore, the group of us consultants are trying to address the needs for the NSOs to diversify their income streams and use their current financial resources effectively. So we would like to strengthen NSOs in their fundraising capacity. We would like to map the financial reality and budget implications which NSOs are facing as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are trying to support NSOs in developing and implementing fundraising strategy. We would like to provide guidance to NSOs on identifying and accessing funding opportunities and in developing successful grant applications. We'd like to build the capacity of NSOs in developing successful grant applications and managing grant processes. And last but not least, we'd like to support NSOs to understand how to best leverage their existing financial and physical resources. On the next slide, you will see what is the offer or what is already at hand. If your NSO requires support in any of the areas mentioned, we encourage you to visit the WASM Services platform, and especially its part on partnerships and fundraising and resource mobilization, as you can see on the screen. So here you can consult the resources available or submit a request for tailored support. But now to the program of today. The second webinar will focus on fundraising from the individuals. So after this welcome introduction, we will have a special guest who will show us the wide variety of what individual fundraising might mean. And then we'll hear from 3 cases from 3 NSOs from the United States of America, from Mexico, and from Denmark. Later on, there will be questions and answers session, and we'll wrap up, hopefully, in about 1 hour and 22 minutes. But before we begin, let's look at a video that shall show us one way of individual fundraising. Enjoy it. We can hear the sound, Michaela. You will have to unmute yourself.
Nacházíme v hale, kde naleznete výstavu fotografií z Jamboree z Japonska z roku 2015. Fotografie, které zde vidíte, zachycují nejkrásnější momenty z tohoto setkání. Jamboree je celosvětové mezinárodní setkání skautů. Skvělá fotka.
Hey, mira, ven. No, to je super bueno, ¿no?
Pokračujeme prosím dále v prohlídce. Tento prostor slouží jako místo k příjemnému posezení, studiu či četbě. Naše knihovna se honosí unikátním fondem knih v oblasti vzdělávání. Ale to není jediné, máme taky tady mnoho významných děl, kterými je například nejstarší dochovaná kronika z družiny Sasanek. A zde si po skončení můžete dát kávu. Nyní vás poprosím o ztišení. Ve vedlejší místnosti právě probíhá přednáška. Pane profesore, můžu na chvilku vyrušit? Já tady mám nějaký turisty. Pokud si povšimnete, zde právě probíhá seminář cyklu přednášek Nové trendy o výchově. Za povšimnutí zde určitě stojí naše věžička, kde z jedné strany je nádherný výhled na Týnský chrám a z druhé strany malé náměstí. Takže kdo chcete, jděte se podívat a poté budeme pokračovat. V poslední místnosti naší expedice se nachází opravdoví skauti.
Díky dobré vůli magistrátu hlavního města Prahy můžeme používat prostory na Staroměstském náměstí. Chceme vytvořit místo setkávání, místo, kde si můžete dát kávu a pracovat. Chceme vytvořit místo, kde se potkáte se zajímavými lidmi a s odborníky. Chceme vytvořit místo, které žije zajímavým programem a zároveň vypráví příběh skautingu. Skautský institut je zřízen Junákem a pracují v něm na nejrůznějších projektech desítky dobrovolníků. Přispějte nám jakoukoliv částkou, abychom mohli prostor co nejrychleji zabydlet a zprovoznit. Pojďte s námi přemýšlet o tom, jak zanechat svět lepší. Děkujeme.
So what you have seen is a promotional video, crowdfunding video of the Czech Scouts who were crowdfunding to equip their newly obtained spaces across in Prague at the very heart of our capital. And they managed because they approached a lot of individual donors by this, and they managed to equip it. So I myself have a chair there and a mug there with my name, and there are many others, which leads me to a question. Do you personally donate? Think for yourself, whom did you donate your money in the last half a year, let's say? I'm pretty sure there were many of you donating to some charity. But the second question would be, do you personally donate to Scouts? Because sometimes we forget about the closest and the most motivated surroundings to approach them to ask for money, because they are easiest to approach. And sometimes we feel that among Scouts there is lots of hesitancy to do so. Crowdfunding, of course, is just one of many ways how to approach individual donors. And the best person to show us this wide variety is our keynote speaker. We are honored to have tonight with us Jan Gregor, who is the director of Coalition for Easy Giving in the Czech Republic. And without any further ado, I would like to give him the floor. So Jan, welcome, and you have the floor.
Hello, Pavel, and hello, all of you. Thanks, Pavel, for this introduction, and thank you, you invited me here. Yes, I will share my presentation, and I have to say that when Pavel contacted me, and he asked me to say something about individual fundraising in 20 minutes, I was really scared, what I can say about individual fundraising in 20 minutes, but I found it. Do it. Honestly, I think this is all what is necessary to say. So maybe, Pavel, my presentation is finished. And we have 20 minutes free, maybe for a discussion. But no, I will be more serious. Individual fundraising, there are many questions. Who is a fundraiser? Or what is fundraising in individual fundraising especially? I am involved in Coalition for Easy Giving, as Pavel mentioned. Also, I am involved in foundation nonprofits.cz, and we are pretty much involved about individual fundraising here in the Czech Republic. So my greetings now are from Prague, from sunny Prague, and I hope that from Prague, which will not be closed in a couple of days. So we will see. But individual fundraising in Coalition for Easy Giving, and for me personally, is in many topics from crowdfunding, already mentioned, to major donors, but also about legacies and these ways how to donate from individuals. So me personally, I am involved in individual philanthropy in general. And what I want to bring you now is a bit of inspiration how to start individual fundraising and why to do this. If I really have only 20 minutes, and I hope that maybe it will be a bit longer, but no, okay, it will be 20 minutes. If I really have only this time, I must mention you only two things. The first one is this one. I think most of you know this fairy tale called Little Prince from Exupéry. I think, yes, study a couple of books, visit some workshops or webinars like this one, but I think much more better than really do it in practice is to read this book, especially this chapter. This chapter is Little Prince and Fox. So please, if you can promise me this evening, if you have evening before you, please read this topic. Read this chapter, especially this one, Little Prince and the Fox, because there is everything what you need when you want to lead relationships with your donors, honestly. The second thing is, this is my wall. And when I was thinking about the second thing and my presentation, I really must put there this one small thing in this presentation. This is more in detail. Maybe some of you already know it, but it's really crucial for me to read all this paper for you. Listen, this is a fundraising office, treasury of the voluntary sector, engine room of change. We convert ideas into funds to achieve great impact. From this place, we connect people who want to change the world with those who can. We underwrite charity successes and insure against their failures. Friends, you stand on a sacred ground. This is a fundraising office. I really believe that fundraising is the engine of all charities. And I really think that of Scouts as well. Yes, when we start to speak about individual fundraising, maybe first of all, you want to know about some kind of method, maybe about digital direct mailing or peer-to-peer or crowdfunding or lead generation or legacies or I don't know, events, auctions, major donors. But you know, these methods are only tools. If you really want to understand what individual fundraising is, don't start with tools. We have one very nice tool in the Czech Republic. It's called darujme.cz, and there is a very easy way how to donate online. And quite often are people calling to darujme.cz and they are saying, asking them, oh, when I will use your tool, how many donations I will have? None. It's only tool. So what's inside of the tool? There are a couple of things. which I really want to speak about them. The first one is relationship. This is classic individual fundraising. And maybe if you already was thinking about individual fundraising, you have some idea as this one. On this right side, the big black hole is NGO or charity or in general. And the smaller black holes are donors. And you see that these donors are donating something, mostly money, to the charity. So it's only one side relationship. Some public polls or public collections and etc. But I really like more relationship fundraising. You also can see this charity here on the right side and on the left side, donors or potential donors. But the arrows are already double-sided because this relationship is not anonymous. You have a contact to this donor, so it's not only about the way that he's donating to you, but you already deliver something to the donor. Maybe you say thank you, maybe you ask again. I think it's well known then when someone is donating you first time, it's not donor yet. After when he will or she donate second time or third time or start to be your regular donor. And it's because the priority is to build the relationship between the donor and between this organization. Relationship building and building relationships between you and your donors and with people around you, so with constituencies in general around you, is the crucial thing, and is also answer for this, what I mean with that the individual fundraising is core of any organization. In this point of view, you can imagine that this small round on the right side is not only your organization. Maybe your organization is all of this. And maybe your donors, your volunteers, or other kinds of supporters, maybe just people that really know that what you are doing and are your fans, all of them are maybe the part of our impact. Second thing, to be relevant. It doesn't matter which method you will use, but it matters if you will be relevant. To ensure that you will be relevant, it's necessary to have these three things: good timing and relevant timing, relevant segment, and relevant message. It really matters who is your target audience. All of you have people around you. Some of them are closer, some or there are not so close. Those who are really close are your priority. They already know you, and it's necessary to speak with them, or if it's many of them, to write them emails a couple times. It's not only about asking for money. It's about building a relationship. Individual fundraising and building a relationship with your donors, it's not only about asking money all the time. It's communication. And sometimes you ask for money. It's a well-known thing that most people are donating for only one reason, because they are asked. After then, when they are asked, they need to know if what you are asking for is to donate something what they have in their heart. And if so, and it's about milliseconds to find it, they start to donate. That's the important thing. Why is the segment here? And the message is carrying your why, your impact, in a really pretty understandable way. And the timing, yes, you must really ask in the right time. When you have relevant timing and relevant time and relevant segment and relevant message, you are relevant. And also you are open to contact anyone you want. The third thing is help us versus join us. I'm not sure if we have someone from Canada here, but maybe you know in Canada, the Sick Kid Toronto Kids Hospital, which have a really famous fundraising campaign. I think they started maybe 3 years ago, and they have targeted to 2022 March to win 1.3 billion Canadian dollars, which is a really huge target. And they called it no limit campaign because actually $1.3 billion is really no limit campaign. And they did very interesting thing. They forget the paradigm help us, the typical NGO paradigm. They started to say, join us. They are not sharing suffering. They are not sharing diseases. They are sharing the heroic impact of their kids in their hospital. They are not speaking about themselves. They are not speaking about the hospital, about doctors. No, they are speaking about how they are proud about the children in their hospital. And in their fundraising campaign, they are going much more far from this. They are also speaking, hey, we are donors. So their donors started to speak. And their donors speak, join us, because we all want to donate to the sick kids and build new hospital. And it's quite interesting thing. If you want to start in an organization individual fundraising, yes, you can share some thoughts about help us and how I will say that, hey, let's help us. Or maybe you can say, hey, I'm really proud about my impact and I'm really pretty sure that I am able to achieve it. We are good at what we are doing. Join us. Because you are part of our impact the same way like me. Help us further, join us. The fourth thing is to break out of the bubble. I think it's a very common mistake for all of us to, in the start of individual fundraising especially, to think through my own eyes what will be comfortable for our donors or not. And typically, is it in telefundraising? Because the easiest way how to do individual fundraising is to start with crowdfunding, or anyway how to do it in online. And yes, in this time, the online fundraising is the most easiest way how to do it. But when you will start to email someone, very quickly you find out that you can rely only on email. So you start to collect phones, and when you start to do that, I think many times you say yourself, oh, I'm afraid that I will bother someone. Okay, don't scare about telefundraising. The phone is not dangerous for you. There are really many people who really like to talk via phone, and they are much more, it's much more comfortable for them because they hate all the emails which they have in their email box. And there is much more comfortable for many of people to be contacted with some living person. Don't forget that when you are in online world, you are all the time communicating only with your screen. But when someone will call you from the organization and say thank you for your donor, it will be much appreciated. The fifth thing is one of the most important for me personally. It's why. Because, yes, I already said that for donors is very important thing to be asked. But what really is their motivation for donation, or what really will say if they start to donate or not? The priority of this is not what you are saying or what you are. Also, it's not priority how you are working, also, or maybe your method of work or whatever. Only thing which is really priority for the donor to decide if donate or not is why you are doing what you are doing. What is your impact? Because your donor probably don't want to be part of you, or don't want to be some expert for your methods of work. They want to be part of your impact. So it's why it's crucial to communicate why. You can imagine, I will say one example later. You can imagine this organization, I think you know them. And this is their sources. This arrow is maybe fundraising because it's trying to achieve these sources to this organization to achieve their impact. But interesting thing is that if the sources are really individual donors, maybe they are more interested to be connected with your impact and not with you. And this is crucial. This small thing here is individual fundraising. In this relationship between your donors and your impact, you as an organization are not important. That's why, when I will go back, it's not necessary, it's not important in your fundraising communication what you are doing or how you are doing it, but this why. Because this why is your impact. Finally, you will find that maybe this is more proper diagram. The scouts are all of these points, but many of these people have different roles. Someone is part of your impact, someone is part of your organization, someone is part of your source as a donor or as your volunteer, and all are connected. This is very close to the last topic which I have here, and I call it inner fundraising. This guy, which is, I pretty much hope that he is quite small. This guy down here is Alan Clayton. I think Alan is one of the famous people about consultancy in individual fundraising. And he is pretty good with one topic, and that's called, the Great Fundraising Report. He did it, I think, a couple of years ago in Great Britain, and he was studying 350 in fundraising way successful NGOs in Great Britain. And he and his team was trying to find out what's the difference between successful and not successful NGO. And we figure out a couple of very interesting things which are really close to this diagram. The greatest challenge to be successful for organization in individual fundraising was not something outside the organization. It was not the market or conditions in the market or access to the market or the attractiveness of your offer or how you are communicating it, or some philanthropic culture of your society. It's typical in our Central and Eastern Europe that we are afraid that we have not so good developed philanthropic culture as in Great Britain or USA or Canada. But these challenges were not the greatest, which will decide if you will be or not successful individual fundraising. So what the greatest challenges were? All of them were internal, inside your organization, not outside. Here are just a couple of them. And thanks, Alan Clayton, that I can share this. Couple of them: internal conflicts, lack of belief or fear, short-term thinking, underinvestment, motivation and performance problems, and compromise. The last thing is very interesting. I will go more in detail in internal conflict. All of these things are emotional because fundraising is emotional business. And when you start doing individual fundraising in organization, you will face these conflicts. You will face over-intellectualization. The state of emotion, non-profit narcissism, oh, we are very good in what we are doing. Don't speak you all people around us to this. Brand misunderstanding. When you will start individual fundraising, maybe you will start to find that many of your employees and volunteers think that your brand is something different than you think. Fear of being criticized or you looking stupid. When you start doing individual fundraising, you are very probably not expert in what you are trying to fundraise for. Fear of being busy, fear of commitment and effort. All of these conflicts are going from this non-profit culture clash. Alan Clayton defined two cultures in NGOs: fundraising ambitious achiever culture and non-fundraising departments, which are mostly ethical intellectuals. Fundraising or communication, you can find here communication, but communication mostly is somewhere, sometimes it's in fundraising, sometimes in non-fundraising culture. I really want to motivate you to go further in a couple of books from Alan Clayton if you really mean it seriously in your organization. You also will have this presentation, so you can really find these values and points if you will find yourself there. But this is really key if you want to be successful in your organization, because you must bring them to your board to be really understandable for outside world, because fundraising individual is not something else than communication. So, and this is it. You must find that it's not one-way communication, but it's building relationships, which are built on shared experiences with you and your donors. In communication, sometimes it's called touch points. You must be relevant. And crucial is it in this who, you really must know your people. And if you already have some precious people, communicate with them. Maybe you have some former parts of your organization or former fellows, or I don't know. Help us versus join us. Decide if you want to really share that you are proud and you really say, join us, or you really just underwrite some problem and you say, help us. Don't think that all your donors, this is the fourth thing, are thinking the same way as you. Test. Maybe you will find that they are absolutely okay with things like telefundraising and much more of them. You must define your why. What is your why? How it looks like? How looks your impact? Concretely, emotionally. It must be understandable for anyone who probably will be donate you. And the inner communication. The sixth thing is the start. The fifth thing very often is the way how to start your inner communication. And all of this will follow. So after this, go and explore some method. And before this, read Little Prince. Because I really deeply believe that fundraising brings organization not to the passive communication about ourselves, but it brings organization to active challenging your surrounding to join your effort for a better world. This is what I believe. Do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan. That was as inspirational as ever when we cooperate with you as UNAC Czech Scouting on setting up our individual fundraising. We are learning a lot, both from you and from the Coalition for Easy Giving, because this is quite an important environment for us to learn from each other. And we appreciate being a part of it. Now the time comes for the questions. We have a couple of minutes for your questions to can you put them into the chat? And once you are thinking probably about your questions, let me ask Jan one question. From the cooperation that we are having so far with our association, how important target group do you consider to be the former scouts or alumni or people who are directly, who used to be involved in the scouts before?
I'm pretty sure this is your priority. You can think about your segments or your target groups, or mostly in individual fundraising, we speak about segments as like slices in the onion. You know, the most precious are the nearest one. So if you have a segment like this, why to try to achieve some general public? It's wasting of your capacity.
Thank you. When you are talking about the onion, then actually, what other layer would you add next to the scouts and former scouts?
Actually, we don't know. You must find them. Every organization has some contacts. You know, when you start to work with some organization as an individual fundraising consultant, you start to observe their CRM system or their spreadsheets and Excels and find out if they have some contacts. How often are communicating with them? What are the texts or messages and call to actions already delivered to them? And after this analysis, you know what the segments are. And I think especially for scouts, yes, maybe parents. Yes, I think there are many people who actually are in the position of someone who received the scout help. And maybe after a couple of years, it's not potential donor, maybe it's potential ambassador. Maybe these people are really open to really nice way speak about scouts and their help, and can be can bring this testimony. Yeah, I think so. And you know, this last target group is nice to describe what fundraising is. You all the time are not just asking money. You are involving people in the center of all what you are doing, and this is winning the hearts of people for your cause. It's all of this. Everyone plays some part.
Thanks, Jan. There are two questions that we are having. We have Ondřej Běnek's question. Is there any platform available for global scouting like Darujme.cz in Czechia? Actually, and the whole first webinar was devoted to that. It was devoted to the Scout donation platform, and hopefully the recording from this webinar will be available soon. The second question, are there any differences between NGO or NSO fundraising and fundraising for social entrepreneurship, developing tools for scouts? Speaking about Levizio, yeah.
You know, in general, how I was speaking, it doesn't matter if you are speaking about, okay, I will say it the other way. The priority is you have people around you and you are building a relationship. That's all. And in this point of view, there are not differences. There are also not differences between NGO and the business in general. Especially in this COVID time, you can see, and not only in the Czech Republic, there are nice analyses from Great Britain also, that business starts to fundraise. You can imagine that like a small community cafe or My Barber, they have a problem and they are doing absolutely the same activities like NGOs. They are starting fundraise.
Thank you. The last question comes from Maher. in the question and answers chat. What about formulation a Scouts Friends group for fundraising? I think we'll get to that in the presentations to come. As far as I understood, actually all three panelists will speak about that. So we will move immediately to the sharing of the sharing from the NSOs, and we'll begin with Brooke Parker, who is the Development Director in the Pathways to Adventure Council of Boy Scouts of America. I'm especially grateful to Brooke for her that actually she got up so early, because it was 7 o'clock in Chicago when we started the webinar. So we very much appreciate you being with us, Brooke, and the floor is yours.
So I'm going to say good morning to everyone because it is morning time here. I wanted to touch point with Jan. He set me up for a great presentation, because you'll hear a couple repetitive things, but are great things that he has said. And I'm going to talk about how we raise money here in the USA in Chicago, Illinois. So we have a campaign called Community Friends of Scouting. And what is Community Friends of Scouting? It is peer-to-peer fundraising. So the question, Jan said, well, we need to focus on our registered adults, former alumni, Eagle Scouts, because they believe in the scouting program. They've lived it. They've raised children through this program. Those are they are the ones that are able to, sorry, I don't know if you hear that, but they are the ones that are able to tell the scouting story from a personal standpoint. So that is where we start first. We start with them because they're in the program, they believe in it. Community Friends of Scouting is all about relationship building. So we need to get the community engaged. We need to use our registered adults and our former alumni to be able to share the scouting message and the personal experience that they've had. So it's important to do community engagement and to be able to have a transparent communication between scouting and the community. There was a question that says, what tools did you use in contacting them? You pick up the phone. I am a phone advocate. You pick up the phone and the first thing you say is, why scouting? So you call your volunteers, you call your registered adults, your alumni, and you call them and say, tell me your scouting story. Why scouting? So I can say one for me, even though I work for the Boy Scouts, I've been with the Boy Scouts for 9 years. I say for me, we worked with, my story for my why is we worked with deaf and blind scouts. And we got to sign the Scout oath in law and everything that we've done in their hand. And it just showed me that scouting is for everyone. The blind, the deaf, so that's my why. And that's the important story that you want to capture within your registered adults and in your volunteers. So you want to pick up the phone, you want to call them, get some stories of why scouting. And that is the biggest thing. I spoke to a woman the other day and I said, what's your why? Why scouting? She has 4 sons that are in the program. 2 of them did the traditional way through post-COVID or pre-COVID. And then she had a son that did throughout COVID. And she's seen the way he transitioned and the way that he was able to be resilient through all of the COVID things. And now he's an Eagle Scout. So that's her why. That's why she supports scouting so much, because all of her children, and the 4th one's working on his Eagle Scout, all of her children are able to give back to the community. And they are resilient in any situation. So I must say, scouting now throughout COVID is, it shows how scouting could go through any storm. So right now is the time to be able to collect those stories, to be able to say, how did scouting survive through COVID? Because it's possible. So I'm going to kind of talk about how we got prepared. So Community FOS, after we reach out to the volunteers and we communicate, and some volunteers, they don't want to raise money, which is fine. That's completely fine. They might want to volunteer on a committee. They might want to volunteer for camp or activities. But once you start talking to your volunteers and your families, you recruit the right people that are willing to help you fundraise. And it's not that you're directly asking them for money. You want them to ask people in the community to give to a program that they are passionate about. So we have a campaign. So our Community FOS campaign, or Friends of Scouting campaign, is 6 weeks long here, what we do here. So for an example, the 6-week campaign, we kick it off March 15th. And our first report meeting is April 30th. So there's touch point meetings with a group of volunteers that you have recruited to help you raise the money within the community. And then you want to have a couple more report meetings within, and I'll go into detail in a couple of slides. And you want to celebrate. You want to celebrate with the people that have helped you raise the money for scouting. You want to celebrate that with them. You want to follow up if necessary. You want to send thank you cards and notes to people who have donated on behalf of their work, on behalf of the Scouts. So for example, so here, so you recruited your people, you've recruited people that are going to help you raise money, and they're willing. So let's say that they're willing and they want to. So here in the US, they're called districts. So we have a district goal, for example, is $7,000. If you find 7 to 8 to potentially 10 people to help you raise money within scouting, and you say, hey, everyone's goal is $1,000. How can we get to this $1,000? So I will call myself Cindy. So my name is Cindy, and I believe in the scouting program. And I want to raise scouting for an organization that I am passionate about. I have 2 children in the program. I've seen scouting work tremendously in their lives. So I want to help raise $1,000 towards this district goal. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to look out in the community of people I know. So my dentist, my doctor, my accountant, my eye doctor. It could be my finance person. It could be a lawyer. So people that I know that I'm in the scouting movement and I'm passionate about it. So what I do, I say people don't say yes to a cause, they say yes to someone they know. So these are the people, my name is Cindy, and I'm going to ask people that I know to help me raise this $1,000. And how I can do it? I can do it by a letter. I can type up a letter and say, my name is Cindy. You know that I've been a part of scouting for 10 years. I have 2 children in the program, and I want to ask you to give $500 for scouting because it has made an impact on my family. So it can come from a letter. I could pick up a phone and say to my lawyer, hi Lou, you know that I'm into scouting and I believe in this program. Would you be able to donate $600 to the program? Because this is a program that I believe in. So that's more of a direct ask. And so here in the US, we have a thing called text to give. And so typically some offices, they'll say text 123 to scouting gives. And so I can send a friend a message and say, hey, how about you give $50? And you could do it through 123 scouting gives. Just give $50 because this is a program that I believe in. Or you can do an email. So you can send an email. I'm not big on emails. I prefer more of like the story of being able to share that story, but emails are fine too. So as Cindy, I'm going to complete my task of raising $1,000 in 6 weeks. So I complete my task. I ask my network. I ask the people I know to support an organization that I'm passionate about. And the thing about that is so I'm going to change out of Cindy. So yes, I work for the Boy Scouts, and the message comes better from Cindy than it would come from me. The message would come better from a volunteer that are in the trenches of the programs, better than it comes from a professional staff, because it's more, people don't give to causes, they give to people nowadays. So the materials that I would provide, Cindy, or the people that will help me raise this money, we have brochures. We have brochures, we have drafted emails or letters. And what I say to my volunteers, I say, this is a draft email. This is a draft letter. You add your salt and pepper to it. You pepper it to your liking. Tell your story. Have it come from your heart. We do text to give, we do text to give information. So we provide all of that for our volunteers that are going to help us raise this money within the community. So after we raise this $7,000 as a team, as a district, we raise this $7,000. We go out and celebrate and say, oh my gosh, we achieved this $7,000. We do a follow-up, which is called a drip effect. The drip effect is with all the donors that have donated, you send pictures to them about your youth at summer camp. Say, these are scouts at summer camp and you made this possible for them. Or a note from a scout. So you could get a note from a scout, have them write it, and thanking the donors for their donation and making it possible for them to be able to experience the scouting experience. And you can copy that and you can send it to the 100 donors, and it's a note from a scout. Like, that is so personable that's so personable for them to receive because they donated. Especially if you have a big say you found that you recruited someone and they found someone to give $1,000. A handwritten thank you note means more than anything than an email or a typed up letter. So the drip effect keeps the donors engaged to see where their dollars have gone. However, if you have a group of volunteers that they're unsure what they want to do. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. So they're unsure what they want to do. They believe in the program. You have alumni, you have Eagle Scouts. The first thing is send them a picture from summer camp. Send them a note from a scout. So that's how you engage your alumni. That's how you engage your adult volunteers to say, you had this experience, alumni, Eagle Scouts. You've had this experience. So how about you come and see what we're doing? Invite them to camp. Donors love to go to camp. We had a group of high donors, were like, I think it was $10,000 and up. And we had a huge camporee with thousands and thousands of scouts. And they came out and they were amazed to see where their dollars have went. We had scouts, we had a little path where they got to meet each scout from each rank to say, this is what these are the leaders of tomorrow. And this is how it begins. And this is how it ends as an Eagle Scout. So it's beautiful. And I believe more in the drip effect than anything. If you have somebody that you're working on that you're trying to get to donate, do the drip effect. Don't even ask them for $1. Do the drip effect and maybe do it every quarter, every other month. And I guarantee you, if you do that for a whole year and you know that they have the capability to donate, they'll be able to see where their potential dollars will be able to, where their potential dollars will be able to go because you sent them pictures. And that is what I have. I try to stay within the 5 minutes and with the questions. Here, I could stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Brooke. You were very passionate.
Yeah.
Which is correct and which is important for
yeah.
To
I hope I didn't talk too fast. When I get passionate, I like.
I have a couple of messages at the end. There will surely be time for questions and answers, but after all the 3 presentations. So without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to another person who had to wake up quite early. And this is Angelica Gomez Castillo, National Director for Fundraising and Public Relations from Asociación de Scouts de Mexico. Greetings to you, Angelica, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Pavel, for the presentation. Listening to Ian and Brooke, I find great coincidence in the experience with Mexico, mainly in the relation to contact with donors. The fundraising initiative by Scout of Mexico began on, how you say, began on January 1st, 2020, through the National Scout Direction of Fundraising and Public Relations. In context about our NSO on the beginning of the pandemic, we have National Scout member 52,000 and Mexican Scout during their life 2.5 million and Mexican population 100 millions. But as you know, in March, everything changed. Our income was reduced in membership events and our store. We have been affected seriously by pandemic. At this time, we need to be resilient and reinventing the form to increase our income and raising funds. And this started to be a significant one. So our initiative implemented on IFR consists in obtaining economic resource different of our traditional incomes, member fee, sales of Scout products, and national Scout event. Now, focused in non-traditional incomes like a Quetzalcoatl order, commemorative pandemic Scout bash, Scout camp online, Mexican Scout party, and donation for specific projects by government and enterprises. Our goals during 2020 as shown in the following table, classified by initiative, amount, application. The Quetzalcoatl Orden is a campaign started in December, the last December, to a specific Scout project. During this month, we can got $24,000, and we reached $24,000. And for commemorative pandemic Scout bash is for $30,000. It's a campaign carried out joined with the Scout bash and party and Scout camp online, especially or specifically the application is for carry out. This event was carried out from July and November for National Register Scholarship, and the donation for specific pandemic projects by government and enterprise, we obtained $15,000 assisting Scout projects to support vulnerable people during people. To begin this initiative, we followed these steps. For the Quetzalcoatl order, our target was to contact senior Scout members, alumni, businessmen, followers, and friends. And for Scout camp, badges, and Mexican party, our Scout membership, national and international, potential member, and our friends. On the other hand, to approach our contacts, we have been doing it personal face-to-face, by phone call, by mail, by virtual mailing, and by our website. But as Ian and Brooke mentioned a moment ago during his presentation, the closest friends are the most important. They will help us build trust with donors, with another donors. In this photo, on the one of the donors on the last December appears in the script receiving the Quetzalcoatl Order Award. He is a close friend since high school, and since I contact him, he immediately said yes, because he was receptive to my cause for Scout from Mexico, and he trusts in me. We need to remember, people donate to people. For the initiative Quetzalcoatl Order, we prepared this initiative with the National Board and the National Executive Direction. We had a brainstorming approach due to the pandemic. We designed a recognition scheme for financial contribution with a certificate and pin for donors. The Quetzalcoatl Order was inspired on one of the most important gods for Mesoamerican cultures, and is part of the design of our Mexican Scout scarf. The order has 3 donation schemes: individual, family, and international affiliation. The contribution levels are bronze, silver, and gold. 1,000 level for the bronze, for silver $2,500, and $5,000 for gold. The contribution can be made by PayPal, debit, or credit card, and bank transfer. The communication and socialization of this initiative was in October. The last October was the first communication, and the first award ceremony was in our National Assembly on December 5, 2020. And to refer the invest money and human resources, the main invest was in time for design the fundraising campaign and its promotion to provide confidence to the donor for a first personal contact, and also by dissemination on social networks and websites, done by employees and volunteers for about 1,000 hours. To refer about results versus expectations, the initial expectations were without the pandemic. We need to reinvent and discover the specific application to implement them and obtain resources for our NSO and for Youth Scout projects, focuses in the supporting people and the face of the pandemic, as shown in the picture. It's sometimes some examples. It's some examples for this. For the evaluation, all the initiatives, the results, we have a weekly report with the National Scout Executive Direction. We keep in contact with our donors to inform them the application to their investment, as well as to invite them to make an additional and increase of support to reach different levels of contribution. But for all this situation is necessary the contact, the communication, and the confidence with our donors. With our donors, our relation with all of them, we consider them as a Scout member, recognizing for its support of the Scout movement, and we keep in touch through emails, virtual meeting, and phone calls. If it's possible, face-to-face. Also, we send the bi-monthly Scout magazine. For more information, you can consult our website in scout.org.mx. Thank you so much for your attention. It's a pleasure to share with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angelica. That was very inspirational. Obviously, you have quite high goals, and I'm happy to hear that it works out for you. And it nicely illustrates also what Jan and Brooke were saying. Now, we are, last but not least, we have a presentation from Denmark, and I'm happy to welcome among us David Hansen, who is the former Chief Scout of the Danish Guides and Scouts. We met a couple of years ago when he very passionately presented their cause, which was to buy an island for the Scouts. And then I realized that it was only possible thanks to his personal contacts and basically approaching individuals to support their cause. So, David, the floor is yours. We are very eager to hear from you.
Thank you, Pavel, and thank you to all the other presenters here today. I really agree on many of the points that have been said, and will try to illustrate which one of the pieces of advice we actually also used when we did this amazing project that started 6 years ago and turned into the Scouts buying the entire island you see on the picture here and getting money to renovate it and turn it into an island for the youth, not only of Denmark, but for in a distant future where people can travel, engage youth from all over the world. So I'm going to tell you about how we got the idea. And this is really, I mean, an ambitious level of ideas that I don't think anybody in Scouting of Denmark would have even thought was possible before we started. And then I'm going to tell you how we got allies involved. And luckily I have to correct Pavel here, because it was actually not even my individual contacts. It was the contacts of Scouting that people before me had been nurtured for a decade or two, and that I was just very lucky to be able to activate because we had existing practices in place that could be activated. And I think that's even a point in itself, that you can develop potential that can be used for you, but also for people around you in the organization. And then I'm going to get back to some of the points we heard, actually all of the presenters talk about, and that is how to frame the project in a way where it's actually interesting to the people who have the money. And this was also a key breakthrough in what we did. And along the way, I will show you a few beautiful pictures of the island as well, because I can't help doing that. So what happened when we got the idea? This was actually sparked at a European Scout event in Serbia, where we had the European Scout, European Guide and Scout Academy, where the Germans were telling about the beautiful castle one of the Scout organizations in Germany have, and how they really use this to create really good Scout activities. And then we were playing around in the evening, where you get good ideas and say, we need a castle, we need something that just like the Germans. And then actually when we returned to Denmark, just 2 days later, on the Tuesday, a lot of the newspapers, they just had this big ad saying, you can buy your entire island. And then we started calling each other, look, this island, it's bigger than the German's castle, we need it. And in that way, it started as a play around joke. But after a few discussions, and we had one very eager person who became the key person for the project, he said, yeah, I know it's completely unrealistic, but if we should do it, what should we do? And that's where I realized we could activate some allies here. And a few decades before I was elected Chief Scout, some people had started an advisory board. And those people were former Scouts, but also knew that resources were important for the Scouts. So they created a network with people who were primarily previous Scouts, but also other people in their network of money people. Many of them working in a formal position in some of the bigger foundations that give out a lot of money. And because just a year before this idea popped up, we had been the host of a Baden-Powell Fellowship and Olave Baden-Powell Society event, and were able to have some pre-events where I was doing a lot of presentations on what's the role of scouting and how do we develop leadership and so on, where some of these people had been attending either the pre-events or the big shot event we had at the main event here, and they were so impressed, some of these people from the advisory board, that they wanted to meet up. So we were making ourselves an attractive partner by showing all our ideas and passion and just in general, just like some of all the previous presenters talked about, why is scouting important? What is the difference it can make? And then based on those events, we did a couple of lunch meetings, just informally, with some of these people to get to know each other and to talk about our shared passion for scouting. And when this idea then popped up, I knew, because now I had a direct personal contact. I didn't know that when I had the lunch, when I did the presentations, but suddenly I could pick up the phone and call the first one who popped up saying, we have this crazy idea, completely unrealistic. But if you should give me one piece of advice, what would that be? And then this person said, you should definitely talk to this person and this person. So 2 other people from the advisory board. And then I called those people for advice. And by asking for advice indirectly, they got hooked. And one of them was even so hooked, he was the chairman of one of the bigger foundations. He was so hooked, he said, we want to be part of that, we want to pay for it. And then we started a more formal idea generation. And we agreed on doing it and pressed the button and talked to the people to buy the island before we even went through the formal channels. We had not sent one piece of paper at this point, and we were ready to buy the island. So this shows how relationships are much more important than making the right paperwork. Of course, we then had some hurry of putting it through the formal channels and so on. But that's a completely other story we don't have time for now. but it's just to confirm the key point here. The breakthrough in the discussions was when we started to frame the project not as a cool place for activities for scouting. That's where the idea started. But when we reframed the project as a contribution to society, stating that we as scout organizations and the network we have in volunteers, we can be the hosts that can renovate the island and use the methods we have to do something that's good for the entire society, so that the youth island will foster the next generation's most important civil society engagement movements, and in that way strengthen generations of young people in becoming active, engaged, and curious, and take responsibility for each other, their communities, and development of society. And suddenly everybody thought, wow, that's brilliant. We want to be part of that. And it's actually also aligned with the strategies and what we can give money for in our organization. Time's running, so I will just skip and say we also, of course, discussed then what's the pedagogical scope here, and looked into the concrete example here. I'll just show you some numbers and just briefly give you another point, that if we were to just ask for one big pot of money, we would only have been able to fundraise about 5 million euros, because that was the limit these foundations had. But because we chopped up the project in smaller pieces, first we got money to buy the island. Then we got money for pre-project investigation. How much should we spend to renovate it? And then we got a lot of free support, really expensive, best lawyers in the country, best engineering and architects in the country that we got because the foundations offered that as like extra support without giving us the money. So in that sense, they didn't have to show that they also supported us with that. But maybe this is €500,000 on top if we add up all the expert counseling we got. But after this, they realized, wow, this is going to be 3 times as expensive as we thought. But now they had the arguments for why they still wanted to be part of it and still wanted to use the money. So in that sense, chopping up in parts and in this way partnering up instead of just saying, give us the money, we'll do the project. No, we are partners here in crime, and we will stick until the end with this project with each other. And as you see in the right-hand side here, some were 2 foundations, some were 1, some were 3 foundations. So also this part of not only raising funds, but also raising friends and finding ways of combining the efforts and using the networks, because this key foundation actually got the contact for the other foundations and they persuaded them to be part of it. We didn't do it, they did. So in that way, really building allies is a key. And then of course, a killer argument was we got about 1 million investment from other NGOs here because they just wanted to be part of it, and more than 70,000 hours of volunteers work in order to do this. And by counting this is also really good arguments for why foundations should put money in, and why we also have co-funding, because many of these, they want co-funding. I think my time is up. This is the key points. Build a network of people in peacetime so you can use it in playtime. So that can help you reach the many types, not only financial, but all types of resources you need. And then activate friends of friends when you get the good idea, and then focus on how to frame your ideas and the contribution. And if any of you out there listening wants more specific advice or want to hear more, you're very welcome to just, call me, add me on Facebook, or send an email, because definitely we have a lot of more to share from the project here, and I'm sure you also have brilliant ideas out there that really deserves to get out there. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Listening to you, I would immediately go and seek for an island I could buy. But I can imagine how much work it was. And thanks to you, how successful it was when you were using the contacts built by your association throughout the decades, as you said, but also using your own contacts from your personal perspective. Now we have about 10 minutes for questions for debates. So far, the only question that appeared was, how can we get to the island? But I guess that's not possible at the moment. But other questions might follow. I will just ask Jan if he has any comments on the presentations that he listened to.
I really love many words and sentences, especially from David. We share our passion, that's really the key. Or Brooks, that's my why, my personal why. Yes, everyone has their personal why. It's not a rocket science, and or the sentence, people are not saying yes to cause, but to a person. It's a personal. Yeah, I really like these stories. Thank you. Thank you,
Jan. One of the questions that appeared was, how do we balance the fundraising with the individuals from the NSO's perspective, so from the top national organization, and what's happening with the individual fundraising at the local level? Would you, the panelists, have any suggestion for that? Because sometimes there might be a slight conflict between the national level and the local level.
So I know that. So we run into those issues too, but it's all like we said, it's all about relationships. So if you go out in the community and you meet somebody and they love what you say, whatever the case may be, they're going to donate because of you, and you have to be transparent with them. I don't know how you do it nationally, but with us, there's a process. So you can't, if I build a relationship with this guy named Dave and he gives me $5,000 and his capability might be 50, but you're starting small, the national level has to, I mean, our national has to come in to speak to us first about that. And also, I've built such a great relationship with Dave. Dave's going to tell me anyway. So you have to be able to build that relationship with that donor to say, listen, this is our relationship. And if someone else comes to you, can you please let me know? But it's all about the relationship that you build with these donors, because if someone calls a donor of mine, they call me and they let me know, because the relationship that we built is so tight.
Thank you, Brooke. Another area of questions that appears to me quite important is, how do you maintain the relations with the donors after they donate? You, Brooke, you spoke about sending a photo from the camp. I think Angelica was giving some other examples of what the Mexican Scouts are doing. How do they keep the donors informed? The question is, how do you make the donors not only one-time donors, but actually long-lasting donors, regular donors who donate a little sum every month, for instance? How do you achieve that? Do you have any recipe for that? Brooke, Angelica, David, Jan, whoever wants to respond.
Yes, thank you, Pavel. In Mexico, we need have a constant contact with our donors, because it's necessary, the trust, the confidence about all the projects that we are making with the donation what we have received from our donors. I think the communication is the most important topic in this case about our donors. It's a constant contact with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I would like to just add, really, definitely, you have to spend your energy here, especially when you realize you have some contacts here that can be a long-term relationship and who have a lot of resources in different ways to give. It's probably no secret in the world level that we are very, very lucky in Denmark to have a princess that is also a patron of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. And she is really a door opener, because when she invites for some kind of event, a lot of these people come. And if she says, hey, the Scouts want to say something, and we say something, of course people listen. So it's also about how can you activate the people, and in that way create a network where they also can shine. So what we did to this person who was the key major donor here of the island project, a lot of times where he had some events afterwards in a semi-private setting, hosting a gala dinner, of course he was proud of the project. So we were out there making him shine. And in that sense, attracting energy for his friends to say, hey, can we also be part of this? So in that sense, it's also a way of figuring out where the synergies available here. How can you make the people who are proud, and just to relate to the Mexican project here, anytime you have a pin or something, now I have this inter-American one here. So, oh, how did you get that? Oh, can I also get it? So in that sense, find a way where things can spread like rings in water.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we have Jan.
Okay, I just wanted to add, because it was a really important question. You know, it starts when someone will donate. So it really doesn't matter if it's a small donor, one-off donor, or regular donor, or major donor, or princess, or whatever. But what's I think common for all of them is something called onboarding period, which is obviously 1 year. And this is crucial for every start of communication with anyone. The first year, how to communicate with them. So get involved them more. Maybe say again that you need something if you really need something. inform them about what you are doing, what the impact is of his donation, because at first every day, then every week, and every month is crucial in the first year, which is called onboarding in the guiding the relationship between you and the donor. That was all.
Thank you, Jan. We are getting to the end of the webinar. Unfortunately, we can't answer any further questions, but we'll try to get to answering later on the Scout Service platform, for instance, or anywhere else. Let me just share with you a couple of takeaways from me, what I've learned today. A couple of quotes. People say yes to a course, people say yes to a course, or they don't say, sorry, people say yes not to a course, they say yes to the people they know. This is you, basically. We must follow up with the relations with the donors. Former scouts are key influential resource. Internal culture needs to be challenged and tackled throughout the whole process of setting up the way of individual fundraising. We need to keep in mind that we need to build allies or networks of people and to keep them working. And last but not least, we should read The Little Prince, especially the chapter with the fox. Many thanks to all the panelists for joining us today. Thank you for being available. Let me now get back to the rest of the presentations. You will find, hopefully soon, the recording and more resources on the Scout Service platform in the chapter regarding the partnerships. And the next, I guess you can see here, and the next session you can attend in a week time. It will be focused on best practices from NSOs on setting up fundraising strategies. Exactly the same time like today, you can register for that. Allow me to also thank to my colleagues from the team, to Michaela, to Millie, to Bob, and many others who have inspired us. Allow me to thank to Michaela and Emma from the World Scout Bureau for helping us from behind the scenes. And allow me to thank to the interpreters who have enabled the French, Spanish, and Arabic speakers to understand us as well. With this, I'm happy to close the webinar, and I wish you all the best with fundraising. Goodbye.